This video will start out with a SNMP overview, followed by adding a SNMP connection device. Then we'll look at how to modify, delete a SNMP connection device, followed by taking a look at the SNMP Map File client properties, SNMP Map File digital input tab, SNMP Map File analog input tab, the SNMP Map File accumulator and text tab, the SNMP Agent Browser online editor only, the SNMP using AI Text Enumeration Feature, and last but not least, we'll look at the SNMP Runtime Points Details. With that said, let's jump in and get to it. SNMP stands for Simple Network Management Protocol. As previously annotated in the overview of this video, you'll hear me pronounce it as SNMP, just for ease of pronunciation. The SNMP is a protocol to send the standardized information over IP networks to enable network management. SNMP messages generally use UDP transport protocol, UDP port 161. UDP port 161 is used to send request messages, and UDP port 162 is used for traps. Some important SNMP concepts are worth mentioning before continuing, such as SNMP Agent. The SNMP Agent is a network management software module that resides in a managed device that implements a SNMP interface. Downstream IEDs that support the SNMP protocol in this context are SNMP agents. SNMP Manager. The SNMP Manager is an entity responsible to communicate with the SNMP agent. MCP Gateway in this context is a SNMP Manager. SNMP Poll. The SNMP is mainly a poll-based mechanism. The manager sends request messages to the agent, and then the agent searches in the database and then acknowledges with a data response. SNMP Trap. The SNMP also supports unrequested notifications sent from the agent to the manager to indicate an event or an alarm state. The MCP can also be configured to receive SNMP messages on a polled or unsolicited basis. Management Information Base, or MIB files. The MIB is the database management information data in the agent that contains the path to each variable known as object identifiers, or OID. The MIB files are used by the manager to interpret the message sent by the agent. SNMP uses both standard MIBs and private MIBs. The most common standard version for SNMP is V1, V2C, and V3. The MCP supports SNMP V1 and V2C as of MCP version 4.0. The user can manage the SNMP connection and devices on the Connections tab while opening the online-offline editor from DSAS. To add a SNMP device, on the Connections tab, click the Add Connection Plus button. On the New Connection window, select Network Connection and select the SNMP block from the list. A block settings page then appears. Note that only one SNMP block can be added. Click the Add button to add a new SNMP device in this block. Modify the settings for the new device. Double-click a cell to modify a value. Select whether the application automatically starts, auto start, when the configuration is loaded and when the MCP reboots. Click Save to save your changes. Device settings. Line ID is a text description to identify the electrical transmission line associated with this connection. Default line X. Bay ID is a text description to identify the bay area associated with this connection. The default is Bay X. Device ID is a text description to identify the device associated with this connection. The default is Device X. Map file is the name of the client map to be used with the specific device. IP address is the IP address of the device. Must be unique from other configured devices. The default is 0.0.0.0. Backup IP address is the redundant backup IP address of the device. Enable on startup indicates that the communication to the device automatically starts when the configuration is changed and reloaded or when the MCP reboots. The default is enabled. To modify a SNMP device, select the device in the Connections pane, double-click or select a setting field, enter a new value in the setting field, click Save to save your changes. If you select a different SNMP map file for an existing SNMP device in the drop-down list, or when you save it as a different file name when opened from within the Connections Map File Edit button, you'll be prompted with the following dialog. If you choose Retain, it will apply the new map file. The home directory and point mappings related to the connection are kept unchanged for the points inside the map file, which were left with the same point ID. It's your responsibility to ensure the signals, i.e. point ID meanings, defined by the previous map file are identical to the signals defined in the new map file. If you choose break, it will apply the new map file. This will change the home directory, which results in invalidating all existing point mappings. That includes points selected within applications like the calculator, the alarms configuration page, and the system point manager. Mappings affected by this are referred to as being non-existent. Choose cancel if you want to abandon and revert to what was selected before. To delete a SNMP connection device, select the SNMP block or device you wish to delete in the Connections or SNMP block pane. Click the Delete X button. Click Yes to confirm the deletion. The result, the item is removed from the Connections devices list. Click Save to save your changes. Note that deleting a SNMP block will also delete configured devices. In addition, it could result in a home directory mismatch elsewhere in the configuration. A SNMP client map is used to determine how information is retrieved from SNMP-enabled devices. Settings are available in the Devices Properties pane while editing the SNMP client map. The following table lists the device-specific protocol settings. Version name, select the SNMP protocol version to be used when communicating with the remote device. The MCP currently supports V1 and V2 of the SNMP protocol. The default version is V1. COM name, the name of the community that the SNMP device belongs to. This helps define where information is sent. The range is from 2 to 255 ASCII characters, and the default community name is public. Poll frequency, the amount of time in seconds that the MCP waits before polling the remote device for new SNMP messages. The range is from 5 to 300 seconds, and the default poll frequency is 60 seconds. Session timeout, the amount of time in seconds to wait for a response from the remote device before the MCP assumes that the poll has failed. The range is from 1 to 10 seconds, and the default session timeout is 5 seconds. Retry count, the number of session timeouts that must occur before the MCP attempts to contact the remote device on an alternate port. The range is from 0 to 100, and the default retry count is 3. Reconnect time, the amount of time that the MCP waits before attempting to retry polling a remote device after a session timeout. The range is from 10 to 3600 seconds, and the default reconnect time is 60 seconds. Poll size, this represents the number of OIDs that can be polled in a single request. A value of 0 represents all the OIDs that will be polled in a single request. The range is from 0 to 32,767, and the default poll size is 0. While working with the client map file in general, the user can use the copy option to copy the point details into an Excel sheet via the clipboard and use the paste option to import the point details from Excel via the clipboard after modification. And to add points in a batch, type the number of rows you want to add and click the Add button. The following settings are available while adding digital input points. Point reference is a short user-defined identifier for the point. The range is from 0 to 66 alphanumeric characters plus space, underscore, and dash, and the default point reference for digital input point is DIX. Point description is a user-defined block of text that provides a detailed and localized description of the point. The range is from 1 to 128 Unicode characters, and the default point description for the digital input point is digital input X. OID, the identifier of the SNMP object to be retrieved as the point value. Double-clicking this field will bring up the SNMP Agent Browser button to allow the retrieval of a listing of all OIDs from the remote device, supported only in the online editor. See the SNMP Agent Browser slide for more details. Poll type is the type of poll to be performed for the point. Available options are poll, trap, and both. Poll causes the MCP to periodically check for new SNMP messages at the configured poll interval. Trap causes the MCP to wait for unsolicited SNMP messages. Both configures the MCP to both poll and accept unsolicited messages from the remote device. The default type is poll. Off state, a text string that's associated with the 0 state. This string is recorded in the MCP database and is displayed with the point. The range is from 0 to 64 characters, and the default text string for the off state is off. On state, a text string that is associated with the 1 state. This string is recorded in the MCP database and is displayed with the point. The range is from 0 to 64 characters, and the default text string for the on state is on. Point group is the point group to which the point belongs. There are three predefined point groups in the MCP: pval, demand, and peak demand. Pval is short for present value, which reflects the current state of the power system at an instance in time. Demand reflects the average value of quantity over a specific period of time. And peak demand reflects the minimum and maximum power flow conditions encountered. Point groups can be modified or added on the system-wide tab of the editor. The default point group is pval. The following settings are available while adding analog inputs: point reference, the short user-defined identifier for the point. The default point reference for analog input point is AIX. Point description is a user-defined block of text in Unicode that provides a detailed and localized description of the point. The default point description for an analog input point is analog input X. OID is the identifier of the SNMP object to be retrieved as the point value. The default OID is none. Poll type is the type of poll to be performed for the point. The default type is poll. Multiplier is the scale factor of the point, M of formula mx plus b. The range is a full range of 64-bit float, and the default multiplier is 1.0. Offset is the scale factor of the point, b of the formula mx plus b. The range is a full range of the 64-bit float, and the default offset is 0.0. Point group is the point group to which the point belongs. The default point group is pval. The following settings are available while adding accumulator and text points. Point reference is the point reference for the accumulator point, which is ACCX and is TextX for a text point. Point description is the default point description for an accumulator point, which is accumulator X and is TextX for a text point. OID is the identifier of the SNMP object to be retrieved as the point value. The default OID is none. Poll type is the type of poll to be performed for the point. The default type is poll. Point group is the point group to which the point belongs. The default point group is pval. A SNMP Agent Browser window will pop up by clicking the Agent Browser button that appears while double-clicking the OID field. Enter an IP address and port number and then click Retrieve Data. It will then walk through the entire tree on the remote device and may take a longer time to complete. This tool is only supported in the online editor. IP address is the IP address of the remote device. Port number is the UDP port number used by SNMP. It is 161 by default. Filter is used to narrow down the selection of OIDs, showing results in this example. Total OIDs retrieved, 941. The number of objects that map to AI points with a filter in place, 155. OID is the identifier of the SNMP object available from the remote device. Name is the interpretation of the OID by referring to the standard MIB files. Current value is the current value of the object. Object type is the SNMP-defined data type of the object. The object type of integer and integer 32 can be mapped to either analog input or accumulator type. Note that starting from version 4.1 of the MCP, the private OIDs that are available for retrieval on the remote device will also be retrieved. The AI Text Enumeration Feature allows you to assign text strings to integer values of analog input points. This can be used to provide user-friendly definitions of SNMP codes. Though the underlying data reported remains intact, that is, the actual reported integer value of the point is still recorded in the database, the point details page shows the associated text enumeration to users. Follow the below steps to configure the AI Text Enumeration feature for the SNMP analog input points. Step 1. Create one or more enumerations. An enumeration is a set of value text pairs that can be used by one or more analog input mappings. Click the Add button to insert a new row in the table. Select one or more rows and click Delete to remove them. Name a unique ASCII text description of the enumeration. Invalid value text. If an analog input value is not defined in enumeration, the text string is shown to users. Value, the analog value returned by the analog input. You can enter any signed 32-bit integer. Text, the text string associated with the selected value. Valid range is up to 42 Unicode characters. Step 2, select AI points. You can select system points using the system point tree. Click the checkbox to the left of the point or group name to add a point or a group of points to the group. Points included in the group are shown at the right-hand side of the point selection area. To remove a point, uncheck the appropriate box in the system point tree or highlight the point and click the Delete button. Click the Delete NE to remove any points that are not valid. This is points that have been deleted from the system database after they were included in an analog input mappings list. Step 3, assign enumerations to the analog input points. Select one of the available enumerations to be associated with the analog input. As a result, the HMI point details page shows the associated user-friendly text enumerations instead of integer values for those analog input points that have associated with enumerations. SNMP Runtime Point Details can be accessed through the Point Details page of the local remote HMI. To view these points, click the Point Details button on the toolbar once logged into the HMI. Click the Details button for the Select SNMP device under the IED tab. Points Details page displays. Select the Point Type tab or All Points tab. The points real and pseudo and points details appear. To force a point value, right-click the point and select the point forcing interface. To send a control request, right-click the DO point and select Digital Output Interface. Lastly, I want to thank you for watching this training content video. And if you're looking for more great content, take a minute and check out the Resources Hub on the GE website. You can do that by typing resources.gegridsolutions.com into your browser, or just click the link in the description of this video and it'll take you right there. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.